This is the worst marketing crime that any MSP can make. And yet I see it on almost every single MSP's website. It's so bad that it's costing you money. It's making people not want to engage with your MSP. My special guest today will tell you what it is, why it's so bad, and how to fix it in minutes.
Hi, I'm Scott Robertson, and I fix bad marketing for MSPs and tech companies all around the world. I'm happy to be here today.
What a fantastic intro, and thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Scott. And I think you and I have that thing in common, don't we? That we see so much bad marketing all across the internet from MSPs all over the world. And clearly both of us have the same mission, which is to go and fix that marketing. And I must just comment, obviously most people are going to be listening to this on the podcast, and what I'm about to say is a very visual thing, but you have a better blue shirt than me. So for those people watching it on YouTube, they'll see that your blue shirt it's a much better style, that it fits better. I've got one of my tatty blue shirts on today, whereas you've got a very smart blue shirt. So Paul needs to up his blue shirt game. And in fact, what I've just done there is I've just committed one of the sins that I know we're going to talk about in this interview, which is I've been talking about myself, and no one cares about me. They care about how they can help their business by listening to this podcast. So we'll come back onto that in a second. Before we do, let's find out a little bit about you and establish some credibility. So who are you? What do you do? And give us the sort of the brief version of your working life story that's got you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's easy. So it's kind of like a play, right? So I can summarize it in 3 acts. The first act of my career, I worked for PR agencies. I was recruited to do high-tech PR in Los Angeles, and I was moved from Missouri out to LA to do that work. The second act of my career, I worked in-house for a large nonprofit organization who needed a lot of help with branding and marketing in the music industry space. And that was a lot of fun. I'm a musician, so that made it fun for me. And then the last act, which I'm in now, is I run my own business, and I help entrepreneurs and business owners really understand marketing at a higher level. And really, a lot of my clients don't like to do marketing. They would rather do anything else but marketing. But the world forces them to do marketing or close the business. So it's not really a choice. You've got to do it, and you've got to do it in a smart way. And I help them see hopefully a better way to do marketing. I think that most marketing, I will tell you, Paul, is terrible, is awful. And I think that our profession miseducates people, and I think that we settle for crappy marketing all over the place when we don't have to, because we tell the wrong story, we use the wrong stuff, we're speaking the wrong language, and I think that the marketing industry miseducates at a massive level. We don't talk about strategy. We don't educate business owners about why we do what we do and what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that is a shame. So I try to be on the side of the line that Seth Godin's on and Donald Miller's on and that you're on, and try to be one of the good ones in an ocean of garbage, an absolute ocean of marketing garbage.
Oh, I love the fact that you just put me on with Seth Godin and Donald Miller there, both of whom are fantastic authors. And for those people listening and watching, read everything Seth Godin has ever written. And he's a prolific writer. He writes a blog a day and a book a year, pretty much. And Donald Miller is, we've featured, we haven't featured Donald himself, but we featured Story Brand, which is his book on the podcast before. It's an amazing book to read. So let's go back to that example I was just mentioning earlier. And you'll remember I started talking about me, and obviously that's completely the wrong approach with marketing. And Scott, you see MSPs doing this all the time, don't you? Talking about themselves rather than talking about the customer, the prospect.
Yeah, and I think, and Donald Miller, if he was here, what he would say is, it's very simple to see why. MSP wants to build a website. They don't know anything about marketing. They go to a website design firm. The website design firm asks them, "What's your message?" They get in a room, and you got the blind leading the blind right there. You got web designers who I wouldn't trust to write the words. That's not their skill set. They're designers, right? There's a step that comes before that, and that's the brand messaging step. I'm a story brand guy. You mentioned, my buddy Don Miller, and what's important about story brand, I think one of the best things that I like about it is it gets the client out of the message. It gets them out of the hero role, which you can't take anyway. You can't take that anyway. It's already been cast. You didn't make the cut. The customer is the hero. And so it's like it puts you in the guide role, and the guide role is so much more important because the guide role has already solved it for the hero, and it's really important. And like I said, when I talk about miseducation, people can confuse an internal marketing message with an external one. And an internal one is like your why, your vision, your values, your about us. And I mean, you should take that out to your next retreat and put on your matching t-shirts and just go off on all of that with your staff. But you don't ever let that stuff creep into an external marketing message, because psychologically speaking, you have 8 seconds to make an impression. And if you don't involve that customer's brain in a story that solves their problem, their brain will shut off and they will move on from you and you will lose them. And the first goal of marketing is curiosity. How do we make people curious? We make people curious by making marketing about them. And Paul, it sounds really obvious, but I'll be damned if I don't fix that, 7 times a week. It's like, I wish I was solving different problems, but you have to solve that problem. You don't solve that problem and the company goes nowhere and everything is a waste from there. So like I said, that's what the biggest problem with marketing is, that there's just a fundamental miss on the fact that it's not about you. Don't put a picture of yourself on your website. No one cares. If you need that kind of validation from your parents, call them up when you're done, and have them tell you were a good son or daughter, whatever you need, that kind of thing. Don't use marketing for your own self-validation and ego trip. Make it about them. Your hero image on your website needs to be about the customer once you solve their problem. How do you get them from the stress and pain that they're feeling? I saw a website this week, Paul, where this coach was, he had 4 pictures on the website. He just did a photo shoot, and he had 4 photos of himself on the website. And so I said, so this is a website where you're the target customer, right? And he said, no, I'm not the target customer. I said, why are there 4 photos of you? I don't know how we're supposed to handle that. But it's not about the customer, so it's not going to work. I said, so you have a website out there that's going to be totally ineffective. The customer's going to say, there's already a hero in this story, and I'm going to move on. And when you talk about MSPs, they solve some really important stuff. Lean into those problems that you solve. I mean, if the technology goes down in a business, the business goes down. If your email is down, you're out of business. So it's so important what they do. And they leave that on the table all the time. They talk around it and not at it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Well, I agree with 99% of what you just said, and I'm going to just unpack your answer, and I'll tell you what the 1% is I disagree with. You mentioned about being the hero in the guide, and again, for our MSPs listening and watching, that is completely down to StoryBrand. It is a great book. I like to talk to people about it from a Star Wars point of view, which is when you're crafting the story of your MSP, you're not Luke Skywalker in that story. You're Yoda. Right, you're the guide. You're the person who is helping to drive things along. But ultimately, the story that's happening is about your customer, who is Luke Skywalker. So let me just throw that one in. The one thing I disagree with there is where you say about putting your photo on your website. And I say this as someone who has about 25 photos of himself on his own website. as you were saying, I saw a website this week where there was just 4 photos of the guy, and I'm thinking, yeah, was that mine? I recommend to MSPs that they do put photos of themselves on their website, and I'll tell you why, Scott. Because when you look let's say you take any size town and there's 20 MSPs, and you go and look at all 20 of those MSPs' websites, they all look the same. Right, they've all got stock images of servers or computers, or the same sort of geographical images of their town. And if there are photos of people, they're the stock image, technician image, where he's always the beautiful looking guy with the beautiful beard and he's smiling and he's got the headset on, and they all look exactly the same. And then you come across one MSP that puts a photo on of them, of their staff, of their family. They actually talk about themselves. They name themselves. They're like, hey, I'm the owner. And to me, in a world where everyone looks the same, that kind of differentiation is absolutely beautiful. So let's turn this into a debate. I never really have debates with the guests on this podcast, so it feels like a good time to start that. I know that there's no such thing as a right or wrong approach, but tell me what you would do instead of that. What would be a preferable way for you of handling that situation of trying to differentiate?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I totally hear what you're saying. So there is an appropriate time in the story. If Donald Miller was sitting here next to me, he would say there is an appropriate time in the story to talk about yourself as when you are demonstrating empathy and authority as the guide in the customer's story, and you want to show yourself. Then it is appropriate to show yourself at that point. What I was basically saying was sometimes it's the first image, and sometimes it's the image after that. And sometimes images, and the human brain sees that and goes, "It looks like this story already has a hero. There's already there's 4 photos of this person. It looks like the heroes, and that's not me, and that's not. I can't relate to that. It looks like somebody that runs an MSP to me, right? It looks like, you know what I mean. And so it's like you have to make sure that all of your marketing collateral, I say website, but it could be all of your marketing collateral, it has to have a controlling idea that solves the customer's problem. If it doesn't, your marketing is an absolute waste of time. Psychologically speaking, there are volumes we've studied the human brain for long enough now that we know that human beings have a very short attention span. We're in the short attention span part of our species evolution. And as a marketer, if you don't know that, then you will fail. You will not understand how to make people curious and build that relationship, which marketing has to do. And like I said, I think human beings are very interested. We're biologically wired to be interested in ourselves, right? And so as a marketer, like I said, ethically, we could argue it all day long. The science proves it massively, by the way. It's not even close. But, as a marketer, you have to know that, and you have to lean into that so that you understand how to speak the language that the brain is going to shut you off. The minute the brain determines that what you're saying is irrelevant to us, it will try to conserve calories, and it will shut down on you. And that's a marketing fail, right? And so what you want to do to win at marketing, you have to make sure you're speaking to the brain in language that the brain wants to hear. And the only language the brain wants to hear, Paul, the only language the brain wants to hear is, how is this relevant to me right now? Go. And you have 8 seconds. And the minute you deviate from that, what we say in StoryBrand is, the minute you stop talking about the customer's problem is the exact minute they stop paying attention to your brand. So it's very, very important. And like I said, when I go to MSP's websites, I see the same kind of buzzwords: robust solutions, no downtime, these kind of things. It's like, show me the pain, make me feel it. What does it feel like when my systems go down? What does that feel like? Show me, make me feel it with the words that are coming out, right? And if you make me feel it and you give me that emotion, then you're actually doing branding, and you're actually doing branding the right way. Because that, in the places that people don't want to talk about, Paul, that's why they're on the website. There is a problem, that a splinter in their mind that is saying, my MSP isn't getting it done in some way right now, and I have to pull that splinter out of my mind. And this company could be the solution to doing it. So show me that you understand, what it is that you're really doing, and don't use a bunch of marketing buzzwords and crap that doesn't speak to the problem. I would say, if I was doing an MSP website, I would say, you're frustrated. If email is down, you're down. If you're down, you're not making any money. You have payroll, you have all the, there's other things, as an MSP owner, but if your business is down, it is because of technology, it is critical. If you have ransomware and those kind of things, those are mission critical things that, just generic bullet points and words don't really get that done. Like I said, the same kind of warmed over, sounds good marketing copy. Punch into that problem. Show me, in StoryBrand, we always talk about, give me a problem you can feel. Show me a problem that hits me, that I can feel. And now you got my attention. Now you got my attention in the same way movie writers and screenwriters get your attention by having something horrible happen to the character in the first few minutes of the movie. They do that to keep your attention, because your brain won't pay attention otherwise. Simply true.
Yeah, exactly. Like Luke watching his aunt and uncle be killed by stormtroopers. That's exactly it. Scott, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Let's just wrap up very briefly. Just remind us what it is that you do to help MSPs, and what's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, of course. I'm a resource for MSPs, for entrepreneurs, for anyone struggling with marketing. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and you can always find me at my website, which is RobertsonComm.com. You can book a time to talk with me there. I make myself very available to speak with business owners about their marketing problems. Like I said, I want to be on the side of the line that fixes things in marketing. I don't think that we're headed in a good direction with AI. And I don't think that is the right direction. I think less but better is going to be a superior approach to more crap. The world doesn't need more crap. We don't need more emails. We don't need more videos. We don't need more social posts. We need better stuff that actually speaks to a problem and actually friggin' solves it. That's the mission that I'm on. If people want to join me, I'm at RobertsonComm.com.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.